Spartanburg Police Department, and we just wanted to check in with you and get some answers on what's going on with the coronavirus pandemic. If you could, Chief, could you explain the Attorney General's clarification on Governor McMaster's executive order regarding the gatherings of 3 or more people?
Sure thing. The the number of people isn't so much the issue as it is what is being, let's say, for lack of a better term, infringed upon or restricted, I should say, about where those people can gather. And what I mean by that, they have mentioned there are some fundamental rights that we have in our country, such as the right to freedom of assembly, the freedom of religion, the protection of the family unit. Those are highly guarded, and when there are laws or executive orders, such as this case, that are put forward, the courts may impose or invoke a real strict scrutiny in those areas to ensure that there's no constitutional violations. So that was more so the position, I would say, that the Attorney General was putting forward, that we have to be careful that we do not tread on certain constitutional rights. And it was in no way the governor's intent to do that, but it was to ensure the safety and well-being or the public health of our community. And he has, through the state of emergency that he enacted, has that expanded authority to limit some of our activities and conduct within our communities across the state. So again, it was more of an issue of whether it was 50 people, 200 people, 3 people. It's like, where can these people gather? So in public places, the governor does have the authority to impose the type of restrictions or take the measures that he has. But when it comes to churches or church gatherings, when it comes to things happening at someone's home, or if there are people who want to get together to protest their government for some reason, those things that will be looked at with great scrutiny by the courts, and that we will not generally interfere. However, with that said, with this pandemic being what it is, and the serious nature of it, and the death and pain and suffering that it's causing, the CDC and the South Carolina DHEC have both still urged that even when, and I agree with their assessment, that even when you may have the constitutional right to do something, or authority to do something, at this particular time, we will still strongly urge that people follow the guidelines that they set forth to help stop this spread, or at least slow the spread of the coronavirus. So, again, just reiterate, in certain places, in public places, we will encourage people to engage in the social distancing. And if there's a refusal to do so, we do have the authority to take enforcement action if need be, especially if the conduct we consider as being harmful or illegal, in violation of the executive order that has been issued. So the biggest thing, though, is that I would just remind everyone that just because we can do something in this perilous time that we find ourselves, it still may not be the best thing to engage in, and we need to find other means to where we can maintain the social distancing, which has proven to be one of the more effective ways of addressing this issue we're facing today.
Right. So just because you can do something doesn't mean you should.
Exactly right.
So what should people do if they were to see a group of 3 or more out?
Again, we will use our discretion, obviously, when we see that, and try to determine what's the nature of the gathering. If they're maintaining spatial or the social distancing of at least 6 feet or more between those parties involved, again, there may be an approach to say, just be mindful, we need to maintain our distance. If they're not, we can be called to address gatherings of people who are obvious violation of the order, and we will take appropriate steps to address it. Obviously, the recommendation to adhere to those guidelines, the steps to help reduce the spread, and depending on, again, the behavior and conduct of the person and their compliance, we could take appropriate criminal action as well against them. So, but if someone sees that they can call 864-596-2076. Again, 864-596-2076 to report this to communications, and who will dispatch us out to come and assess the situation.
What do you expect to see with the governor's order that he issued on Tuesday regarding the closing of all additional non-essential businesses?
What I see, or what I expect, is compliance. We need to remember as citizens of our great country that we are a nation of laws, and the respect for the rule of law is extremely important to our success. It was through the formation of our country through now that obeying the laws of the land are extremely important. And realizing that this measure was taken to as I mentioned before, to save lives and to enhance our overall health and well-being. I expect those businesses to close, and those that remain open, that they take what steps they can to safeguard their patrons to the extent that they can, and also expect their patrons and those who frequent these businesses that remain open, that they again be mindful of the social distancing, the hand hygiene, if they're sneezing, that they're coughing into a piece of tissue or Kleenex or handkerchief or into their sleeve. Again, my hope, my prayer, and my expectations are that there will be compliance.
Chief, let's talk a little bit about the agency's response to coronavirus. How has the agency prepared for a pandemic of this nature?
We've taken the following steps to prepare us for this dire situation that we find ourselves in today. We've inventoried each officer's personal protection equipment. We've also conducted refresher training pertaining to the use of that equipment. And to be mindful of the social distancing protocols, we've modified our roll call meetings prior to shift. And we've canceled all of our group trainings, either internally or off-site. And we've required some online training that's related specifically to COVID-19. Almost daily, we distribute any updated information that we find through a variety of sources to our personnel to keep them well informed. Everyone is on board with monitoring each other and basically just holding each other accountable. And we really pushed it: if you feel sick, stay home, and then we'll obviously provide the type of support that we need to help our colleagues who have been stricken ill. We hold very few face-to-face meetings during this time. We've conducted, like a lot of our command staff, or unit meetings by alternative means, whether using Zoom or some other avenue or conference calls. We're in the process, we've actually placed them through the building, and we're going to prepare some to place out in the community as well, just listing some of the safety guidelines and protocols that have been established by the CDC and DHEC. And we've also have a number of our employees who go around and sanitize and disinfect our workspace throughout the building, specifically our doorways and entryways, so it's a protection to not only us but the citizens and those who enter into our workspaces. And we've allowed some of our administrative personnel to work remotely, or we've modified their schedules to reduce the volume of people that we have in various spaces within our office. The use and out in the field, the use of disposable handcuffs for those occasions where we may take someone into custody. But I will say that when there's an opportunity to write a citation and not take one person into custody is preferred if the situation will allow it. But if it is required that a person needs to be taken to jail, we will not hesitate to do so. And after each transport, we'll ensure that the car is disinfected should we have to be used again to transport an arrestee or a citizen needing some type of escort. So we're taking those type of measures to try to safeguard not only ourselves but the public in which we serve. And hopefully these efforts will help slow or stop the spread of the virus in our community. I would like to just mention one other thing as to what we're doing. When it comes to operations, we still respond to emergency calls 911 calls where there's the likelihood or imminent threat of danger or harm to someone, crimes in progress. But we are taking calls by phone for certain, what I like to term lesser calls or property crimes. The emphasis really is on having us available to respond to crimes against persons. So that's the only real modification that we made to our service delivery, because we want to maintain the type of performance that the community is accustomed to and are deserving of. But as this pandemic continues to progress, we will may be required to make other modifications. But we want to be as responsive as we has been in the past and provide that high level of service.
Okay. What changes have been implemented to help keep detainees safe?
As in regards to safeguarding those people that we detain or arrest, these are some of the steps that we take. At the beginning of the shift, each one of our vehicles are disinfected with a disinfectant spray. And should someone be taken into custody, we use flex cuffs or one-use disposable cuffs as opposed to the metallic ones that are normally assigned. But even if we use the ones assigned, they will be sprayed and disinfected after each use as well. The social distancing, to the extent that it can be maintained, we do it. If the detainee has or displays any symptoms, coughing, sneezing, or something along those lines, we do have masks that we can use during those type of encounters. But the main thing that we're trying to do is to ensure that we limit the amount of exposure to us and the citizen by making some good assessments and decisions and using good officer discretion as to whether or not this is someone that needs to be taken into custody, or is this someone that we can actually write a citation to, in which would further limit that contact or exposure to both parties.
Thank you for talking with us today, Chief. And if you have any final comments, any advice you'd like to give?
The operative word to me for what's needed at this time in our community and our state and all across our land is sacrifice. It's a time where we may have to sacrifice some of our personal freedoms, some of the things that we love to do. That's almost in our genetic code to do. We're social creatures by nature. But it's so important that we engage in the social distancing, which has proven to be one of the more effective means of slowing and stopping the spread. So I would encourage each and every one of us to do our part by following the guidelines of the CDC and the South Carolina DHEC, so that we will be able to overcome and prevail in this extraordinary time. So again, I just want to thank everyone in advance for the role that they will play going forward.